Hey everyone, this past weekend we dug into a passage in 1 Peter chapter 3 that talked about marriage and relationships. And relationships, it's one of those areas that's like a constant balancing act. There's always give and take. And we live in a world, in a culture that we're so easy to judge someone else based on their action, but we judge ourselves according to our intention. And the way of Jesus is different than that. And that's why it can be so challenging. The world that we live in, it's hey, you wrong me, I'm gonna wrong you back. You hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you back harder. If you want me to love you, you gotta earn it. But the way of Jesus is different than that. And so I gave this phrase that we need to compensate, not retaliate. And compensate really is just this counterbalance idea. It's really about, in a relationship, in a marriage, it's, when I'm weak, you can be strong. When you're weak, I can be strong. And that is a great guide for marriage, for family relationships. It's a great guide for church relationships. We can walk with each other in this community. It's one of the joys of my life to be a pastor and just see, when we gather together, when we see people connecting online with us, that we can walk through life together. And what about those times when we feel let down by somebody? Peter said in 1 Peter chapter 3, I think it's verse 9, he said, don't repay evil for evil. Don't retaliate with insults when somebody insults you. Instead, if you want to pay them back with a blessing. Well, where did Peter get that? He got that from Jesus. Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, he said, you've heard it said that, the world you live in, it's an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hurt you. If they slap you on one cheek, give them the other. If they take your shirt, give them your coat. That whole idea. What is Jesus saying? Just keep being abused? Just let people abuse you? No, absolutely not. If you're in a situation where you're being abused, please get help. That's not what Jesus is saying. What he's communicating and what Peter's communicating is, don't let somebody determine your value by how they treat you. Don't let them take away your dignity. Your value comes from God, not what other people think. And so in relationships, marriage, whatever relationships you're in, my encouragement to you today is to remember your value, your worth, because God made you valuable. And if someone does wrong you, if someone does insult you, that does not determine your worth or your value. Your worth and value come from God. That gets tested in life. We know that it does. That's why we got to let the Word of God, the Spirit of God, continue to renew our minds so that we can continue to grow. Hey, this is Behind the Sermon, where we go just a little bit deeper into the sermon to really discover, how does faith intersect with real life?